This is a photo of me trying to sleep on the streets of Denver while my partner's passed out in our bed less than a mile away from me. But I'll tell you that story shortly. Today we're diving into 7 tips on how to be a less angry man. This video is the first video of a series where I'll be exploring how to become a better man and what does that even mean to me? What does being a man even mean to me? Throughout this series, I'm going to share a little bit of my story, explore ancient and modern day wisdom and tools to help you explore masculinity, and I'll offer inspiration for you to create more purpose in your life as a man. Let's get into it. Let's look at some anger. We all have it. Tip number 1 is to find a place to safely express your rage. I didn't realize until I was about 28 years old how much sports was a safe space for me to express rage, especially as a football player. I played football all the way through college. It didn't matter what my energy was for the day. If I was so angry at my mom or my partner or at school, I was actually rewarded for expressing anger because it meant that I could hit harder. Years later, I'm realizing that those places don't really exist anymore. It's hard to find safe spaces for men physically to express rage, not be judged, not be canceled, and not be criticized. But I do have a few examples that have really helped me. One is simply refinding sports or the gym. If you can find a way to integrate this into your life, it adds community, it adds expression, it adds energy, movement, and for those times where you're really going through it, if you can find a safe space to rage lift, the somatic movement of moving a lot of energy allows the man to release some of that anger. I wouldn't say this is a fix, but it's a really good pressure release. If you've ever seen a rice cooker, they have the little switch on the top that goes psh, that you can turn the valve on, and it feels like that, which I actually think is really important in our day-to-day lives. Number 2 is screaming. I've set up this warrior workout actually for myself when I'm really dancing through a lot of anger, where I will go and I have a specific workout set up, a playlist, the whole thing. But what I want to point out here is at the end, there's a gong in the gym, and I will bang that gong. And the reverberation and the sound and the instrument that the gong is one of the only ones that I've found that can just hold my anger and make me feel like it's meeting me in that moment. Another good place for that is breath work. If you've seen people with the Wim Hof, there's other practices of this, and if you can find a good breathwork teacher or a good breathwork class, using your breath to move that energy to the point of visceral release through screaming is primal, but it's game changer. And the last place here to safely express your rage is in a men's group. Find a group of men that you know will hold you in your anger and in your sadness and allow you to process it verbally. If you're in Denver, we are starting a dynamic men's group. I'll put the link down below if that's something you're looking for. Tip number 2, label your irritations. There are things that put us on edge, that set us off more than others. For me, some of them include lack of sleep, caffeine is a huge one, feeling out of purpose, not getting movement, my diet, what am I fueling my body with? If you can label your irritations and learn to control the controllables, you'll set yourself up for a more successful and less angry life. This is Ryan from the editing bay. I didn't like how number 3 laid down, so I'm just gonna refilm it. Number 3 is approach yourself with more curiosity than judgment. Men are often found to be more hard on themselves, more demeaning, more negative to get results. And I think women often do a good job of teaching us this. It's approaching our internal worlds and our internal selves with more curiosity. Why am I like this? Where is this coming from? What is the root of this? And turning down the judgment long enough. Don't ignore it. Don't become passive to it. Don't become like what we would perceive as a soft man, but give yourself space to really speak. Give your internal world enough room to be like, oh, I'm safe in this body. I'm safe in this mind. Here's what's really going on. Then you can set up an action plan to do something about it. Which kind of leads me to number 4, psychedelics and integration. I would say if there's anything that has shown me the most about myself and about the way that I operate at a subconscious and conscious level, it's psychedelics. Now, psychedelics can create profound change, but what is equally as important is integration. Psychedelics that are just handed to you over the counter by Big Pharma is a drug. You're gonna take it home, you're gonna have this great experience, and that's it. But psychedelics with integration of practice and modalities of meditation and journaling and even some guidance, that is healing, that is medicinal. One of my favorite quotes, I'm gonna put this up here real quick. One of my favorite quotes about psychedelics actually came from the book Tools of Titans by Tim Ferriss, and it's from the ethnobotanist Terence McKenna. They said, well, if you teach someone to meditate or to do yoga, there's no guarantee whatsoever that something's going to happen. They could spend a week doing it. They could spend a year doing it. Who knows what's going to happen? They may just get bored and wander away, not knowing that there was a there. If I give you 5 grams of mushrooms or 300 micrograms of LSD and tell you to sit on the couch for an hour, you're guaranteed to have a radical transformation of your experience. It doesn't matter who you are, a freight train of significance is going to come bearing down on you, and we just have to watch the clock and know what time it's going to happen. Also, wow, I lit this copal behind me and it looks like I'm in a completely new scene. It is so smoky in here. Hold on. Tip number 5 is explore shadow work. If you've never heard of shadow work, the easiest way I would say to explain it is that if you have a coin that's laying down on the table, you see the top side of it. I would say that's the gold side, the side that you want to see. But underneath it is an equally you side of the coin, but it's the shadows, the stuff that we don't necessarily want to look at all the time. The part of us that lives in the cave and we feel the experience of the anger, the sadness, the frustration is how it comes out in emotions. But there's an aspect of us that we don't necessarily like that's creating that. And if you can learn to approach those parts of yourself with less judgment and more curiosity of where did you come from? Where did I learn this as a child? Why am I acting like this really? Then you can turn that shadow into gold. You can bring it to the light so you can see it and not even necessarily need to change it in that moment, but being able to see it to illuminate it gives it life. For example, my personal top 4 typical shadows that I see come out of myself are impatience, my martyr, the person who will like put something in front of me so I trip on it and then act like I didn't know it was there, arrogance, and my good old escape artist, the one who's like, this is too much, I'm gonna just head somewhere else. Number 6 is take extreme ownership. If you know Jocko Willink, he's kind of coined this phrase and quoted it as his corner of the internet in a way, and I think he digs into it in this incredible masculine militant way that is really valuable. The other thing that comes alongside this that I've heard is a quote that says, it's not your fault, but it's damn well your responsibility. You grew up poor. It's not your fault, but it's your responsibility as an adult to change that. You're overweight because you grew up in a household where your parents ate a horrendous United States diet. That's also not your fault, but it's damn well your responsibility to change it as an adult. And the list goes on, and anger is one of them. It may not be your fault that you're angry, but it's damn well your responsibility as a man to dig underneath and figure out why and begin to change that. Now, quick note here, don't try to do all of this at the same time and upend your life. Integrate this little by little, even this point by itself, taking extreme ownership. If you're somebody who's living in a victim mindset and you're able to label that about yourself, 1, good for you. 2, start to take small steps in taking extreme ownership. Take ownership for the way that your bathroom looks and how clean it is. And then once you feel like you've nailed that, take extreme ownership for how your household looks and feels and the cleanliness of it. And then take extreme ownership at work and build on that habit. Take extreme ownership with what your partnership looks like. And you can habit stack your way to a life that feels like you're taking extreme ownership of. Tip number 7 is join a men's group. I mentioned this earlier, but it deserves its own space. There's magic in a group of men who choose to go inward together. The collective masculine holds so much anger within it, but part of the beauty is that we can support each other by coming around one another to alchemize that pain, that anger into purpose. Often things that make us angry can hop into the basket of what gives us purpose in life. If you really want to do this and make a difference tomorrow, do these 3 things right after you watch this video. 1, look up men's groups around you. 2, reach out and attend a few groups. See which have a vision and mission and essence that align with you. 3, commit to a group of men that you trust. Stay in this group for at least 3 to 6 months and see what happens. And I told you I would explain what that photo of me sleeping on the streets of Denver was. Basically what had happened was I was trying to get out of the city for a while and disconnect, because that's so important to my mental health to step back and to look at my life from a 30,000 foot lens. And it helps me to go out to nature to do that. So I'd been planning this weekend for a couple weeks and life was just pressurizing. Money was tight, things were moving, I was working my ass off. And Alexa said I could borrow her car. My partner, we decided to have only one car in the apartment complex while we lived here. But I was really cautious of doing that because I've had nightmare experiences with past partners and sharing her car. So as fate would have it, the day that I'm leaving, the kitchen is full of my bags. I'm packed and ready to go. And she looks at me and says, "Hey, will you take your phone?" And I really didn't want to take my phone at all. I wanted to be disconnected. I said, "No, I don't want to do that. I don't want to take my phone." And she said the magic words to crack the final straw on my back. She said, "I want to read it so I don't mess it up. I've rearranged all my plans to let you take my car for the weekend. So will you please take your phone?" Fuck that. I was like, yo, you're gonna do all of this and then throw it in my face. I didn't say that, but that's how I felt on the inside. When people offer to support me and help me and then use it against me, that's one of my biggest triggers. And not that she was doing that necessarily, but that was how I felt it was happening in the moment. I snapped. I was like, I don't want to go. I don't want to take the car. Don't give me your stuff and then throw it in my face. I'll drop you off and then I'll figure it out from there. Fast forward basically through hours of oscillating between what I wanted to do and being so angry. I could label my triggers. I could see where they were coming from. I could even give reasons for why I was blowing this whole thing out of proportion, but I couldn't navigate the feeling of anger and rage that was in my body in a way to process it and let it go. To the point where I'm on the streets of Denver trying to sleep because I'm so mad and I'm not gonna go home. I wish I could tell you that this was years ago, but this was like maybe 6 months ago. Through all the psychedelics, through all the therapy, through all the support, through all the bag, the treasure chest of communication tools and techniques that I have, sometimes I still can't fully process my anger in the moment, but I do know that stepping away physically is one of the best things that I can do in those moments. Eventually that night, I was out late enough, uncomfortable enough, that I went home and slept in the bed, and we took the next several weeks to integrate that entire experience together. Bless her. I have a queen. As always, I hope you're able to take something here and integrate it to change your life just 1%, because 1% here looks like a tiny change. In 10 years, you're a different you. If you're in Denver and you feel ready, consider joining the Dynamic Men's Group. I'll put the link in the information down below, and I'll catch you in the next one. Love y'all.